Yeah, this is so comfortable.
Yeah.
What's up, Fred?
What's up?
What's good?
See,
What's the name of your store?
we're the Pecs. We specialize in 2000s and 90s sportswear.
Oh, so you guys just do just sportwear?
Yeah, mainly like Nike, Adidas is the main brands, but all vintage, so nothing modern past. We consider sort of 2005 onwards as modern.
Oh, so like, what's the latest it has to be?
Well, the newest we'll do is 2005-ish, but we go back to the 80s.
Great. Do you support any football club?
United.
Oh, we are enemies. I'm a Liverpool fan. But yeah, so going straight to it,
Cool.
what do you think is the biggest problem with sustainable fashion or like second-hand clothing?
The biggest issue with fast fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's consumerism is so out of hand that it's so connected to trends being really, really fast, which means the clothes are designed to last as long as the trends, which means people just keep buying and buying and buying.
Yeah.
And you just end up with loads of crap just in landfill.
So that's the biggest problem with fast fashion.
Yeah.
What's the biggest problem with second-hand and sustainable fashion?
I don't know, you can argue that it was once produced in a similar manner to fast fashion is today, but the difference is that buying vintage fashion means that you are no longer contributing to that trend,
Yeah.
where it's been produced unethically. I'm not sure. What would you say is an issue?
Well, I would say the biggest problem is people get to understand sustainable fashion or second-hand clothing at different points in their lives.
Yeah.
So when some people find out second-hand fashion, most times it's because it's cheaper, and I'm like, now they're like, oh, I can get like a Raf Simons or Gucci at a cheaper price.
Yeah.
They are still continuing the same habit of fast fashion in second-hand fashion, so they just buy and still store up,
Of course.
not letting anyone go. And I think most times buyers or consumers are not aware of the habit, which is second-hand clothing, that you, as much as you are buying, you need to let more go.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that the same consumerism habits exist in vintage fashion.
Yes.
However, the difference is that vintage fashion is no longer at present day contributing to the issue.
Yeah.
So high consumerism in vintage fashion, you're maintaining the habit, but you're not encouraging the major corps like Shine and Opoly and even Nike and Adidas these days to mass produce for mass demand.
Yeah.
She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke a foam and she cut your hair. I'm froze. It's not so.
Yes,
So we're back.
we're back.
Yeah, and we're still on the business of second-hand fashion and promoting sustainable fashion. And we stopped at me asking, say for example, we are the entrepreneurs, we are the producers, we are the manufacturers. Every young man, every young woman has a dream to be big one day, and you've built a business like I don't mean to call names like Sheen or anything, and some group of people just come and tell you, oh, you're promoting fast fashion, you're destroying the earth. What would be your response? Like, won't it look like somebody's just trying to block my shine or make me
I think
do less?
I think remembering what I was saying, I think it's important for designers to pursue expressing their designs. However, in today's world, whichever industry it is, sustainability has to be so central to all of their thinking. So the era of fast fashion has certainly changed because it must be done environmentally now.
Yeah.
So as a designer, I think you need to focus or think about how can you produce on a smaller scale to keep it more localized, rather than necessarily having ambitions of being the same size as Nike or Sheen, for example, because they're that size because and like they're absolutely terrible for the planet. You know, you can still passionately produce a consumer base and an audience and products by having a smaller scale and more environmentally conscious brand and design process.
So how about, so for example, this person just keeps buying, because it's affordable.
Yeah.
So what do you think can happen to those kind of people? What do you think can be done to make those people aware that, okay, this isn't what you should be doing?
I think there is a big impact and responsibility from us independent, sustainable traders to communicate or educate basically. Because why are we what is the environmental difference between vintage fashion that's been produced 20 years ago versus fashion that's produced today? The responsibility does come down majorly on the producer of fast fashion.
And people like us who are willing to lend our voices. So like, I feel what you're basically saying is there should be more education, there should be more sustainable fashion influencers.
Yeah, and I also think at the moment sustainability is a trend in this domain, but in the fast fashion industry it's not a trend whatsoever. And the consumers of fast fashion will start being more conscious of environmental production of clothes if these fast fashion companies start making it a trend to be more sustainable, having their behind the scenes processes and production lines more sustainable, and suddenly the consumers will start to understand that, well, psychologically be like, oh, this is the trend to be sustainable, so I'm going to prefer this brand that does this. But at the moment all brands are just like mass producing and trying to create the best trends, the fastest trends. And that's the competition. It's not a competition of who's more sustainable, which means the usual consumer doesn't care or recognize that this is something that should be relevant.
You're very correct. So, and one thing with sustainable fashion is two things. It's either you're doing second hand or you're doing very expensive clothes, because the fabrics you're using to make sustainable outfits are very difficult to find. Young designers may not even be able to get to that level of producing real sustainable fashion.
Which material is just one domain of how it can be sustainable. It's also about the scale, the distribution. For example, if you're just sticking to a national scale, that is more sustainable than being global. So yeah, although getting vegan or organic materials might be less attainable for a startup designer, you're also being more sustainable by selling your clothes on a more localized scale. And I think once you've gained a bit of traction on that local scale, you can start investing in things like the materials that add more parts of your production line and process sustainable.
So what advice do you think you would give a young fashion designer who wants to enter the fashion business?
I would learn the impacts of what being the scale of Nike and Amazon and Adidas does to the environment and people around the world, and learn from what being that large scale does and why it's wrong.
So you learn to correct the mistakes.
Yeah, because you can see it's in front of us that this mass production and scale is not sustainable and it's poor socially and environmentally. With fast fashion, you've got children making your clothes because you need cheap labor, fast labor. So starting out, look how it's not just about how you produce it; it's about where you sell it and how you sell it. It's not just about how you produce it; it's about how you sell it as well. What scale and what regions you're selling it in. You know, for example, if you were a designer in Bristol and only sold your clothes in Bristol, that is sustainable. That's a sustainable brand. And as you gain traction, you can focus on investing in the sustainable materials that you may not be able to attain when you're starting out with low funds. Yeah, I think my point is it's not just about what materials you produce the item in. There's so many other areas of the whole production line, from buying the materials to selling it in a shop somewhere.
Yeah.
Like you can improve the sustainability on each sub part of the process.
In sustainability is called decoupling. So like every area, every dimension of sustainability, say for example, from the wages of your staff
Yeah.
to the type of water or how much water you use, to your CO2 emission, to your electricity and all that.
Yeah, to how you fit your shop even.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's the obvious things are like the materials that you use and also the scale, but there's things like, I don't know, using recycled wooden hangers rather than plastic hangers
Yes.
to present your clothes. Like there's details that you can focus on that you can achieve first, because sometimes starting out as a designer you may not be able to be sustainable in every single way.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Fred. Yeah. So what did you study uni?
Entrepreneurship.
Hope you're not going to be like these producers and this manufacturers.
No. I've just graduated and I'm trying to do this as a full-time job now.
That's sustainable fashion.
Yeah. I grew this business over the 3 years I was at UE.
Well, this is your business.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I'm with the boss. I am so.
Yeah, I'm the boss man.
This is so great. This is so great, and it's an honor to sit down with you.
Oh no, it's been really nice. I appreciate that we both have an interest in this area.
Yeah,
it's important.
And it's so, like, I wish you guys can see what I'm saying so you understand that. All right, let me allow you.
And for the video, by the way, we did a whole another 10 minutes before this.
I'm sorry, I need to buy a new phone.